Hi there, welcome to the Fat Burning Man Show. I'm your host, Abel James, and today I'm very excited to be here with Mr. Dave Asprey and Army of BulletproofExec.com, which just reached the status of being one of the top 100,000 websites on Earth in less than 15 months of being in existence. So pretty cool stuff. Dave is a Silicon Valley investor, computer security expert, and entrepreneur who spent 15 years and over $250,000 to hack his own biology. He upgraded his IQ by about 20 points, maybe more, we don't really know, but he's a pretty smart guy, let's leave it at that. He lowered his biological age and also lost, most interestingly to me anyway, 100 pounds without using calories or exercise. The Financial Times calls him a biohacker who takes self-quantification to the extreme of self-experimentation, and his writing's been published by the New York Times and Fortune, and he's presented at Wharton Kellogg, University of California, and Singularity University. He sounds like my kind of guy. And actually, Allison and I got to spend some quality time with Dave and talk coffee and bacon while we were at Paleo FX. He's one heck of a cool guy, and Army is too. Today we're going to be talking about how not to burn yourself with ice, the benefits of caffeine as a performance-enhancing drug, why mycotoxins might be making you fat, and why exercising might not be a very good idea if you're not getting a whole lot of sleep. So without further ado, let's hang out with Dave and Army. So it was awesome hanging out with you guys at Paleo FX, and I was glad you could make it to Austin. Your site is getting pretty huge pretty quickly, so congrats for that. What were the numbers again?
We just hit the top 100,000 websites on Earth, which is
Crazy.
Phenomenal for a blog that's about a year old. Like, people really care about this stuff.
Yeah, it is fascinating stuff. So not only are you superhuman, but you're also taking over the world.
You know, I'm not that interested in taking over the world. As long as, the world's improving, I'm happy to just be part of that. But
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for the success on the site. Like, it's a lot of fun, and it keeps me motivated. It's not even my day job. I'm a vice president at a big security company most of the time.
Right.
So this is a labor of love.
That's so cool. Yeah, I know all about the double life. But once upon a time, Dave, you were pushing 300 pounds, and now you have a six-pack. So what happened along the way?
Well, I stopped off at 7-Eleven and picked up some Schlitz, and no, the other kind of six-pack. I was working out like 6 days a week. I'm 39, so this happened when I was in my early 20s, and I'm like, all right, I've had 2 knee surgeries. I'm fat, and I don't like this, and so I said I'll just work out 6 days a week, an hour and a half a day, half cardio, half weights. And I just won't eat very much, and I'll lose weight. I did this for 18 months.
Yeah.
At the end of 18 months, I hadn't lost any weight. I was stronger, but I was flabby, and no change whatsoever. The same pants I always wore were still there. So I decided to go to my doctor, and he was flat out useless. So I told him he was fired, and I spent 4 years, and over time I spent almost $250,000 of my .com, early 26-year-old millionaire kind of time. I spent that money upgrading everything I could about myself, starting with my brain, because my brain was failing as a result of being so fat and inflamed.
Yeah.
So I started taking smart drugs, learned about metabolism, and now I've got a guy who lost 75 pounds in 75 days on the protocols I've got published for free on
Wow.
Bulletproof Exec. It's like the stuff, it actually works, and it's not painful, it's not hard, there's no deprivation, and so I like to share that with people, because I'm angry that I spent 25 years obese and sick most of the time for no good reason.
Yeah, for no apparent reason. I was a vegetarian for years and, ate a low-fat diet, and that's what eventually kind of broke me. Not in a serious way, but I was headed downhill pretty quickly, and it wasn't until I completely did the opposite, which it sounds like you did too, did everything get better. So your views on exercise are pretty unique, and as I understand, you don't do a whole lot of it. Why is that?
Well, I mean, I've definitely done it. I mentioned, the hour and a half a day of heavy, weights and all that. And I've done high altitude mountaineering and training for that. I've climbed in the Andes and the Himalayas, and, I put a picture of myself without a shirt on my website, which is frankly, being a computer hacker guy, I'm like, that's the geekiest thing I could ever do. But I'm like, this is real. This is 2 years without any exercise. I didn't exercise for that 2-year period because I was sleeping less than 5 hours a night by design. I was, senior executive. I moved countries, started a blog, venture-backed a company, sold another company, and I have 2 young kids who I actually spend time with. So it was like, if I'm going to exercise, I need 2 more hours of sleep a night for recovery. And right now, that's not what I want to do, given that I can still maintain everything that I need to maintain. In fact, actually improve a little bit from a fat perspective without exercise. I'm not saying you shouldn't exercise at all, but I will flat out say that if you're exercising, every day, like some of these CrossFit friends of mine, I know that when I hit 40 and 50, it's better to exercise all the time and eat a paleo diet than it is to be a vegetarian from a long-term perspective. But better off, don't over-exercise and eat a paleo diet, and you'll last longer and you'll actually have more energy.
Yeah. And so those two things, sleeping very little, at least relatively speaking, and exercising don't really go hand in hand, but it seems like a lot of people are doing that these days. Why doesn't that work?
If you're going to exercise, at least if you're exercising right, you're putting a stress on your body, and your body needs to recover from stress. And sleep is one of the best ways you do it. You can optimize your sleep, and I read a lot about sleep hacking, about okay, how does this work, and what can you do to get more deep wave sleep? And I've actually done some things with the electronics. Like sometimes, I worked out, but I don't have time to recover, so I'll sleep 2 hours with an electrical current putting me into that deep restorative state, and I wake up feeling restored. Wow. But I don't know that I want to do that every night forever, although maybe I would if I was certain of what the long-term effects of it were.
Yeah. So you're a biohacker, and I have this image of you, Dave, kind of sitting there subtly electrocuting yourself right now.
I did that in Sweden on stage. I gave a talk about how to hack yourself to handle more information. I
saw that, yeah.
How to handle information overload. There's electrodes on my head, and I'm running a current across my head on stage. I think that's the first time anyone's ever hacked themselves actively on stage, but the stuff works. It's real. It's not even that new of technology. It's just no one knows about it. So I'll give it a try if I think it's not going to cause permanent harm. And so far, I don't think I've caused any permanent harm with biohacking. It's hard to know for sure.
Yeah. So tell us about some cool new hacks that you're working on right now. And Army, feel free to pipe in also.
Right now I'm working on the Jack Kruse cold thermogenesis thing. And that's probably been the most harmful thing I've done in the last year or so.
Really?
Yeah. So for people who aren't familiar, Jack Kruse is a neurosurgeon and an awesome guy, and we all hung out.
Yeah, he's a blast,
including Army and all at the show, and actually had dinner with him. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do his cold exposure protocol, which helps you with fat loss and improves the quality of your sleep and probably lengthens your telomeres. It's a very powerful anti-aging thing, it looks like, and it's probably good for you. And plus, I live in a cold environment up here outside Victoria in Canada, so if I could not wear a jacket in winter, then all the Canadians might respect me being an American. So I started sticking my face in cold water every night, and I noticed benefits of sleep right away. But then I get to New York, and I'm staying in this stupid $500 a night, actually gorgeous hotel. It doesn't have a sink in the bathroom. It's this little square rectangular splash pad for the mirrored stuff, and there's no bathtub, and there's no ice machine. So I told them 6 buckets of ice, please, and they bring it up. And then I put them in baggies, and I packed them all over my body, which you're not supposed to do yet, especially without a compression shirt. So as we're talking today, I've got first-degree ice burns on 15% of my body. It hurts like hell. So that is truly the most painful biohack, and there's no electricity involved. It was just ice.
Oh, man. Yeah, for those of you who are listening who don't really know Dr. Jack Kruse, he is a really cool guy and doing some just breathtaking work as far as cold thermogenesis goes. And he's been known to kind of smother himself in bags of ice and sit outside naked writing blog posts in below freezing weather. But he does say, so the reason that this didn't work in your case is because you didn't really ease yourself into that. Is that right, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, he was really clear. What you should do is you should figure out, basically you should wait till you can keep your face cold. And I could hold my breath for a minute underwater in ice water, no problem. But he said, then stack ice with a compression shirt. And I just don't pack a compression shirt with me when I go to hotels in New York to speak at conferences. So I ignored that step, and that would have pushed the blood out and prevented the capillary problems that I did experience. Like, it's my own damn fault, but man, it hurts.
What about some hacks that are working?
Well, let's see here. There's a lot going on. Trying to think of stuff. Are you looking for more like nutritional things, or more like kind of the electrical, funky stuff that's out there?
So my background is in brain sciences also, so feel free to talk as much as you want to about that.
All right, killer. So I have a new kind of brain training software that we just launched actually at South by Southwest. It's called Bulletproof Mindware, and it's designed for intelligence enhancement. It's called dual N-back training. That's like half of what it does. And dual N-back, that's N-back, for people who are interested in that sort of esoteric stuff, is one of the most studied ways of raising your intelligence. And it basically doubles the working memory that you have in your mind. Right now, most people can remember 7 numbers. This gives you a second set of 7 numbers that you can remember. And I'm kind of grossly oversimplifying. But when you do this, your IQ usually goes up on a test by 10 and sometimes even 20 points. So we have that training. It takes about 20 days to do the training. It's hard. It's like lifting weights.
Yeah.
Like, it's boring and it's irritating to do it. You're like, are you kidding me? I'd miss that one again. It's frustrating, and like, it's not like Jazzercise where you listen to some music and jump around.
I wouldn't know about
that. Like there's some like fun brain games, like, oh, I'm gonna play a crossword puzzle and then I'll be smarter. It's like, no.
It's no Angry Birds.
So, exactly. But the other thing that's really cool is I'm a big fan of enhancing creativity. And one of the things you can do is you can teach your brain to have enough of your it's called there's default mode and there's basically activity mode in your brain. And the default mode is what happens in your subconscious when you're not actively doing something. And you can train yourself to have a little bit of memory, a little bit of consciousness running in the background when you're in this kind of default creative mode. So there's software that uses tones that I designed that put your brain into an alpha or a theta or even a delta state. These are like semi-sleeping, kind of lucid daydream sort of states. But then it trains you with a little chime to actually remember what's happening then. And the targeted results for this kind of thing are that you end up having better focus. Even times when you're sort of feeling like you're not focused, you have a little thread always running that's recording and keeping you aware of what your own brain is doing. It develops mindfulness, but it also develops creativity. And there's nothing else like that out there. And I've been doing a lot of that lately just because I find it helps my creativity and my performance.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It sounds like you could use it for evil.
It's you could, to be perfectly honest. Anytime you increase your intelligence dramatically, if you're a prick, now you're a smart prick, and you'll do more bad things, and that's the way it is. So I actually, in my blog, I do worry about that a little bit. There's some really powerful stuff in there, and if people focus on enhancing their own personal power, but they haven't done their emotional work, to understand, who they are and why they're here, and to learn how to be kind to themselves and others. We could be breeding some real bad people. So let's hope that people, start with the heart rate variability training that I recommend, and they develop their emotional body as much as their mental body and their physical body. Because if you only do 2 of those 3, you're not going to be happy with the results.
Yeah, and that reminds me that there are a lot of people who coach other folks to lose weight, including myself, who really try to focus on the mental aspect in very much the same way, because some people find that they lose 50, 100 pounds and they're still not happy. They assume that once they get to that point, every problem in their lives will be solved and they'll just be 100% happy all the time. But if you don't mentally prepare for something, then when you arrive, you're not really any better off than you were before.
You totally hit it on the head. In fact, Army has been doing some of the kind of stuff we're talking about here. Army, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. I've been doing some of the M-Wave training also, and I found that not only improved my mental capacity on a day-to-day basis, but it also improved my recovery and performance in sporting events like 5Ks and running races.
I heard your podcast. Yeah, that was really interesting.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure the mechanism yet, but